Perfect. Good afternoon or good evening, and welcome to the December 7th Board of Director meeting for MSAD 51. Before we begin today, it's very rare that we have a meeting on December 7th, and I would just like to take a minute and talk about the significance of this date. Every year in the United States, there are Remembrance Day ceremonies across the country to recognize those who lost their lives on December 7th, 1941. More than 3,500 Americans lost their lives or were wounded on that solemn day. And this impacted families across the country. I'd like to ask if we could have a moment of silence to recognize the men, women, and the affected families that were impacted by the events of December 7th. Thank you very much. Let's begin our meeting tonight with recognition, and Margot, you have something that you'd like to.
I do. I have some great news, which was shared with me by Jen Siegel. The Greeley Theater Program at Greeley High School has recently been accepted as a member of the International Thespian Society, an international honor society for high school theater students. There are 9 students who comprise the charter members of Troop 9047 and several students waiting in the wings who will likely qualify by the end of the year. To qualify, students must work 100 hours in the theater, generally the number of hours they spend working on 2 productions, and maintain a high level of academic standard. They can accumulate these work-study hours in all areas of theater, from performance to technical theater. Once accepted into the program, students are connected to a community of students all over the state, country, and world who are working at their respective schools to gain a deeper level of theatrical knowledge and experience. ITS members have access to a great number of resources and are invited each year to attend both the state and highly regarded National Festival of Theater Arts competition and study. Members also become eligible to apply for scholarships that are only accessible to ITS honor students. Also, being a member of ITS is a distinction recognized by colleges and universities all over the world. The honor of becoming an ITS member school reflects the high quality of work and commitment our students give to producing theater at Greeley. Affiliation brings credibility and distinction to students, theater programs, and schools. It is something I hope everyone in our district can be proud of. And this is Jen speaking. As a theater professional and former member of ITS myself, I can personally attest to the benefits this organization offers students. As a parent, I am so thrilled to know this opportunity can be part of my child's academic experience. New ITS member students will be acknowledged in a virtual induction ceremony next Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. And Jen also wanted everyone to be aware that the Greeley Theater Company is presenting a virtual production of the Laramie Project, which will stream December 18th through 20th and include a talkback after the final performance, offering students and audience members the opportunity to engage in even more learning and understanding of the play. So I just want to give a shout out. I know we're here, but this room isn't being used the way it has been and will be. And there's still some great news happening with Greeley Theater. So,
well, thank you so much for taking the time to put all of that together and then read that for us. Very exciting news. Anybody care to comment? Outstanding. Well, thank you so much. That brings us to the approval of minutes for November 16th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. Thank you. Any comment by the board? Please.
I was not present, so I'll abstain from voting.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, from the community, these comments are restricted to the minutes. Mr. McBriarty, the microphone is in front.
Sean McBride, Cumberland. Mr. Chairperson, one of the things I can't believe is that we still allow Superintendent Jeff Porter to submit the minutes from the meetings. It seems like a real conflict of interest when the person who comes up with the ideas can then provide partial minutes to the community based on his own bias. They're also generally very late in being posted. It's almost like the board doesn't want the community to actually get the complete minutes of the meeting or put factual or vital information in writing. With 70% of the Cumberland taxpayer bill going to MSAD 51 and Jeff Porter's $212,873 annual salary, we as taxpayers would certainly expect more transparency from MSAD 51. I'd like to make a recommendation that the school board at least reviews how the minutes are posted, and recommendation would be that a school board member takes the minutes and then posts them. At least that would provide the impression of impartiality. Also, as a reminder, I had requested during the 11-16 school board meeting that the 10-19 meeting minutes were updated to include that Superintendent Jeff Porter illegally withheld my First Amendment rights to redress of grievances, peaceful protest, and free speech when he illegally removed me from campus for simply calling out the fact that you were not following your own policies. Also, that the elected school board member, Kate Perrin, slandered me on video, stating that I was stalking the school board chair, Tyler McGinley, which of course is not true in any way. Certainly the local authorities are aware this is not true. If you'd be so kind, if I would ask the chairperson to ask Superintendent Porter to correctly include these comments in the minutes for tonight's meeting, whenever you get around to posting them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? I would like to note for the convenience of the community, one of the fantastic byproducts, if there are any, of COVID is that we are able to broadcast and stream these live, as well as make these available nearly immediately or immediately on YouTube as well for anybody that does have, would like to follow things very specifically. So thank you. We have a motion and a second, an abstention that's been noted. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Thank you. That leads us to public comment. As we have announced in previous meetings, these comments are restricted to a total of 3 minutes per individual who would like to speak. What I would ask you to do, since I'm staring into something brighter than the sun, is to raise your hand, and then you'll be recognized. You can return to the podium in the front and make your comments. So anybody available? Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Sean McBride, Cumberland. With all the work I've done uncovering MSAD 51's hypocrisy on this subject, I've been hand-selected to be the head of the main branch of the No Left Turn in Education. You can search Facebook to become a member of the group in an effort to combat the socialist intentions of Maine school districts just like MSAD 51. MSAD 51, whose Equity and Inclusion Committee Chair, Nick Schuler-Whiston, certainly does not appear to be very inclusive based on his social media posts. That's a committee which he and Madam Chairperson, who's not here tonight, were hand-selected almost entirely of Democrats to push their own agenda. Cumberland and North Yarmouth, unfortunately, are like other Maine towns across the country, in which they are going through indoctrination of students towards socialism. Just to refresh memories, last year Ann Maximovic spoke directly to Shea Stewart-Belay, the Executive Director of Community Change, Inc., who Ann directly recommended hiring. You may remember Shea, the one who stated in her Twitter feed that she needed a deep dicking. What a great role model for our students. You may remember Jeff Porter, Ann Maximowicz, Tyler McGinley, and Kate Perrin's illegal hiring of CCI last year, and then their steadfast support afterwards. After Jeff Porter allegedly fired CCI, he decided to move to a Marxist partnership with USM and their affiliation with Black Lives Matter, and a butthead, Ibram X. Kendi. A U.S. Senator Kennedy, recently commented that Ibram was some butthead professor from Boston University. There was no presentation of the community on this new direction, no ability for public comment, not even a vote by the school board. You all realize that institutional racism is a myth created by the left to split the community down the middle, which Superintendent Jeff Porter did on 6-2. He's done nothing to heal the community since. Superintendent Jeff Porter was recently asked by the leaders of the town of Cumberland to sit down and talk through the 4 alleged racial incidents from FY 19 and 20, all four taking place in grades 6 through 8. Certainly not worthy of MSAD 51, spending hundreds of thousands of your taxpayers' dollars on anti-racism work. Nearly $15,000 were recently spent in legal fees just trying to not allow me to use my First Amendment rights. Superintendent Jeff Porter declined this meeting invite, unwilling to have those hard conversations, apparently fearing more exposure to his hypocrisy. This is the second time he's declined a discussion, the first happening at the end of June. Fact, opposite from what she stated in the paper, Chairperson McGinley's family member reached out to me through a friend unsolicited, concerned about her socialist actions. I only reached out to that person after the introduction. I have that all documented. It appears that your members that took part of the continued illegal retaliation in the 1123 newspaper article actually looked more ignorant after the article than before it, if that's even possible. As an upcoming Christmas present, I'll be providing a payroll analysis of MSAD 51 and the town of Cumberland's administration, which I believe most of the tax-paying citizens of Cumberland will be very interested in. Martin Luther King stated, "Intelligence plus character."
Mr. McBriarty, your time has expired. Could you please conclude your remarks?
Yep. One may argue that several of the adults up on stage have neither intelligence or character. Thank you.
Are there additional comments? Yes, please. And after your long walk, if you could state your name and place of residence would be delightful.
Hello and thank you. Good evening. My name is Andrea Berry. I'm a resident of North Yarmouth. I have a sixth grader at Greeley Middle School, and my husband works at MIW. I'm speaking tonight in support of the school district's ongoing equity and inclusion work. Professionally, I work as the Director of Community Engagement at Maine Initiatives. We're a nationally recognized social justice foundation focused on advancing racial justice in Maine. Through my work, I see firsthand the struggles of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, and the struggles that they're faced with in our community. Not only are clear and blatant acts of racism a frequent occurrence in many people's lives, we see time and again that our state's policies and systems are built on foundations of systemic racism and are intentionally biased against people of color and communities of color. Whether I want it to be or not, my whiteness is a privilege that I benefit from every single day. All of us in this room and in this community who are identified as white and who identify as white benefit from white privilege. When we understand this and learn about how this privilege manifests, we see it everywhere. In our ability to live in this town, in our comfort walking down the street past the sheriff's car when I take my dogs for a walk, for example, and in the way our presence is welcomed in shops and by other community members. It is essential that we teach our children that privilege exists, that implicit bias exists, that white supremacy exists, that racism, both personal and systemic, exists, because if we cannot name it, we cannot confront it, and we cannot change it. Our family has seen both sides of white privilege and racism. A young Black woman from Rwanda has lived with us as part of our family since 2017. And while the majority of our community has welcomed her with open arms, while attending Greeley, she experienced multiple racist incidents at the school, some big and lightly reflected in the reporting numbers, and some small but no less damaging. I cannot go back in time to 2017 and 2018 and right those wrongs that she experienced. But what I can do is stand up tonight and speak in support of this work going forward. I hope that you continue it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Are there additional comments? Please. And if you could please state your name and place of residence.
Hi, my name is Eliza Batchelder, and I'm a resident of North Yarmouth, and I have two little ones at MIW, and someday a third. And I just want to voice my support for the board members, as well as for the equity work the district is undertaking. For anyone still looking for evidence of racism in our community, simply look at the lengths that some people will go to prevent this work from happening. The truth is that the vast majority of the community supports the equity work and supports the board. And I'm one of those people that supports you all. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone additional like to speak this evening? Seeing none, that will allow us to jump to item 6, which is the superintendent's report. And I'm going to get my head out of the way. Oh, it's not in the way.
Nope, not yet. Should be. The box? No, not yet. All right, good evening. I have Superintendent's Report tonight, so very happy to submit this. And despite the pandemic, we have a lot of things going on that is really amazing in our district. And I'll come back to the recap of the coronavirus relief funds in just a moment. I have a presentation on that. At Mabel Wilson School, students have expressed how they are thankful for family, friends, school, teachers, staff, and books on the thankful trees that they have. And if you go to the school, there's actually different displays. There's a display of a thankful tree in the library. Students also posted books that they are very thankful for. Two organizations that I am very thankful to, and I think we're all indebted to, is the Greeley PTO and Foundation 51. Many thanks to the PTO for supporting all of our K-8 classrooms this fall with $100 gift cards. I'd also like to thank Foundation 51 for providing rolling mini grants to teachers for help during the pandemic, and that's something that will be coming up very shortly. Andy, I think we lost it again. Another thing that I'm very excited about, all students and staff in the district have been invited to participate in a district-wide unity chain. This is an installation of different paper chains, much like you would see at the holidays. And all put together, they're going to be representing an interconnectedness and diversity of all of our students. Each link is a student's handwritten hopes and wishes for 2021. Collectively, we are better off when we support one another and unify in support of each other's individual differences. In fourth grade, we have students that are now medical interns. Fourth graders had a special reading lesson last week where they studied in medical school how to perform using a text-featured surgery. GMS 4-5 literacy specialist Angela Campbell had a great time as a guest teacher. It was a great way to provide connections between literacy and the world of work and help answer that timeless question that we often have from students. How do we actually use this in what we're doing? I'd like to read a statement that Senator Breen and Doherty put out in support of SAD 51. It said a recent news article highlighted the unfortunate clash between SAD 51, the school board, the district superintendent, and a member of the community, centering on the district's ongoing efforts to improve racial equity in the district schools. In response, Senator Kathy Breen and Senator Maddie Doherty, whose district Senate seats include SAD 51, issued the following statement. Across Maine and the nation, people are having hard, candid conversations about the far-reaching and powerful legacy of slavery in America. These conversations are long overdue. The recent efforts of the SAD 51 board are just one local example of this larger, necessary work, and we applaud these efforts. Improving racial equity is vitally important, and it will take all of us working together to make sure our community and our schools are places where everyone truly feels welcome, accepted, and safe. While conversations on this topic can evoke strong feelings in people, when we're discussing something that's important, it's critical for everyone to treat each other with civility. We're hopeful that this complex dialogue in Cumberland and North Yarmouth will proceed in a way that promotes safety as well as an open, respectful discourse. USM on the Spot Day came to GHS last week. The University of Southern Maine on the Spot Admet Day at the high school was another great opportunity for our seniors, following a similar day where many students were accepted to the University of Maine a few weeks ago, with 18 students applying and all being accepted to USM. Congratulations to those students. There were a lot of majors that were represented for students who are interested in going to USM. There are merit scholarships totaling $51,000, 7 Durago scholarships for $3,000 each, and 6 presidential scholarships for $5,000 each. I'd like to congratulate all 18 students for being admitted to USM, and to Mrs. Melissa Fowler, who's the senior counselor at the high school, for organizing both the UMaine and USM days, which she has done annually. The district is looking for some volunteers to serve on the Comprehensive Needs Assessment Committee. This is a committee that meets 3 or 4 times, will meet 3 or 4 times this year to review the district's priorities and assist in the development of the ESEA funding application. This is an important compliance activity that we participate in. If you are interested, please contact our District Director of Academic Services, Susie Robbins. And I'm going to bring the presentation. This is a short presentation on the use of our federal coronavirus relief funds, or CRF funds. The district received $2,960,987 between both rounds 1 and 2 this year from the federal government. And the uses of the CRF money has to be related to COVID-19 directly, cannot supplant operating budget expenses. So if we've got it in the operating budget, we cannot be providing things that we already have in the budget. And we have to use this money by the end of December, so we've got about 3 weeks left. So the first area that we used part of the $3 million for was for staffing, which is a significant part of our both round 1 and 2. We were able to hire 15 permanent substitutes for the year. We're planning to continue those substitutes beyond the January time frame, and the money after January will need to come from the operating budget. But during the first 4 months of school, we're able to take them out of CRF funds. We've hired staff members for the remote school staff. We've hired staff members for one staff member for additional nursing time, and we increased another staff member who is part-time in the nursing area. We increased additional school support time in our offices, given the volume of phone calls that we're getting from parents and the different cohorts that we're providing at this point, and increased custodial services during the summer and during the day. For outdoor learning spaces, we have the large outdoor learning space, which is located next to the Greeley Center for the Arts, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner the beginning of that project, and then you can see 2 photos one on the left and one on the bottom of the completed project during the daytime and nighttime. And the photo, which is up in the very right-hand corner, is the beginning stages of a shaded pergola, which will be built and should be done within a few weeks, which will be great, especially spring and fall months, summer months, for anyone who's on the playground. It'll be a good place to go for students to just kind of congregate underneath, of course, socially distance, until we no longer have to worry about that. Other outdoor learning spaces, we have a lot of picnic tables. I believe it's, I want to say, Mr. Poulin, 35, I think was the count for picnic tables in the district. And there's great uses for those tables. We also purchased a number of benches, which have not gone into the ground yet. We're going to wait till spring to put those in. But that is a picture down here of the benches that we have received, and they're on site. We're just going to wait and put them in. And we also are replacing all of the tents that, unfortunately, we had a windstorm early in the fall. We lost some of the tents, and we ended up buying some sturdier ones that we will be replacing and putting those up in the spring as well. Network upgrade, which is about $500,000, a little bit more. There's a huge project right now that's going to be completed before the end of the month. Laying of fiber, which is right now going on. Access points, enhancing our firewall, putting a number of new switches in, and a new network switch, which should markedly increase the productivity of our network in the district. It's something that we've been wanting to do for years and years and years. And obviously with COVID-19, without a network, a lot of the things that we are doing with live streaming, with technology, is not possible. So this network upgrade is really critical to our district. Another large project is the mobile classroom live streaming units. We're buying units for most teachers in grades 4 through 12 at this point, and some teachers at Mabel Wilson School. We have a live streaming work group of teachers and administrators that are working on this project, met several times already, and will continue meeting. At this point, we're bringing on a group of teachers right now, 15 teachers, who are piloting this in January. Later in January, we hope to bring on a larger number of teachers that will be using live streaming in their classrooms, middle school, high school, some at the elementary level as well. So we have 3 subgroups that are part of the live streaming work group: video conferencing expectations. These are basic guidelines, best practices to help students, teachers, and parents understand the video conferencing and live streaming pieces that just need to be in place, kind of the housekeeping. We have another subgroup that's working on models and training for secondary level teachers, and then a third group working on the same thing for elementary level teachers. So these are the 3 pieces that you would find in a mobile unit. A teacher can set them up in their classroom. They can take them home. If we're in red, or if we're on a weather day, at home, and use them at home as well. Other live streaming projects, we're enhancing, again, mobile units for co-curricular activities. We'll be using that in here. We can use it out on the field. We can use it in the gym. This is a unit. Actually, we're purchasing 2 units at this point that can be moved around and start streaming and continuing to stream activities. We started streaming athletic events this fall. We'll continue doing that, but we also want to branch into drama productions and other productions that are in the Art Center as well. We also are replacing, again, with respect to live streaming, all the projectors at Mabel Wilson School, which are aged. We don't have short throw projectors at Mabel Wilson. We have the long throw projectors right now. So we're in the process of replacing those. Those should be done by the end of this month. Middle school 6-8, we have most of those short throw projectors installed. We'll be finishing those up, I think, within the next few days. Technology devices and equipment. We have purchased new Chromebooks for grades 4, 5, and 6. One of the things that we found with COVID, especially being out for 3 months last year and now being out virtually 3 days a week since the beginning of the school year, is that the machines that we have are aging very quickly, much more rapidly than they have in the past. So one of the things that we went ahead and did is to replace all of the Chromebooks for grades 4, 5, 6. They have arrived. We're now cataloging them. Similarly, we are replacing iPads for classroom presentation and Google Meets to help with live streaming being introduced in the district, and also helping with teachers who are presenting at home. We've had a number of students and teachers, as you know, quarantine in and out this fall, and as we continue that process, that will be important. We've also, you can see on the right-hand side, that is an amplification unit. The teacher wears the smaller piece that you can see on the right-hand side on the bottom of that unit, and there is a speaker that goes with it. This is an amplification for the classroom, especially as teachers are talking through masks. Sometimes it is difficult for children to hear, or students to hear exactly what's happening. We asked teachers if they wanted these. We have at least 50 or 60 teachers that wanted these devices in their classroom, so we went ahead and ordered those through CRF funds as well. I've mentioned this before, but we have done a lot of work, about $150,000, I believe, dollars worth of upgrades in our buildings, including a lot of plexiglass so that we could social distance students, keep them safe, putting directional signs up, putting basically sanitizer stations, having all kinds of wipes available. You probably saw them as you came into this meeting, between supplies, equipment, and basically upgrades to the buildings. We have invested a lot of money in making sure that everyone is safe that is in our facilities. In the middle picture is one of our custodians here at the high school, and she is using one of our new fogging machines, which disinfects the classrooms. These machines are used nightly to make sure that our classrooms are disinfected. We have custodians that have to be trained. We have many of our custodians are now trained on how to use these machines as required by the CDC. We also have been able to, through CRF funds, these are the actual 2 vans. You won't even see our decals on them yet, they're so new. But we bought 2 new vans to continue social distancing, especially for students who are in IEP and need to have separate busing or busing on with 2 or 3 other students. We are desperately in need of smaller vehicles for that. So we were able to, through this, the CRF funds, purchase 2 more vans for the fleet. We also have a number of windows at the high school and the math and science wings that do not open, and we have been trying to replace those over the last few years, and we just have not had the money to go ahead and do that. We were able to use CRF funds to repair those windows. They didn't really need to be replaced, and by just repairing most of them, we've gotten them working. And for those that need to be replaced, we will replace them. So this is a final project summary. Not every dollar that we have spent is in here. These are all the larger amounts. I believe just about everything is in here. And you can see, I won't read through all of these, but you can see where the money has been spent. As I mentioned, building modifications was $150,000. Network upgrades and live stream was $900,000. The bulk of that was the network upgrade, more than half of that. We spent $500,000 on COVID staffing, permanent substitutes, remote schools, leaves that we have our staff on. Outdoor classroom space, we spent a total of $207,000 on that, and that does not include the benches, which we have in a different line, which is another $60,000. The short throw projectors, we spent $200,000 on replacing all of those and putting them into the, not replacing, but putting them in the middle school, and then replacing the projectors that were there at Mabel Wilson School. And we have also spent $125,000 on window repairs at the high school and some replacement. So those are kind of the bigger items that are on this list. And this will be a link that will be included in my blog going out this week if you are interested in looking in more detail at any of these items. That is the superintendent's report. Is there any questions or?
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, a couple things. Could you, there were a lot of folks, including Scott, who could be sitting here, of course, that were active in this. Anybody that you want to talk about with their efforts?
Absolutely. Mr. Poulin had a huge hand in writing the applications, making sure these projects have been completed. Don Foster has done a lot of work on the site, just kind of making sure that things have been done. Dirk Van Kuren has had a huge role in the technology pieces. I'd like to add Donna Green in there as well and helping him with all of that. Our administrative team has done an amazing job making sure that a lot of these projects were implemented. There's a lot of people that we could thank, and I want to thank the board for all of their support in the funds for these projects. This has really been, amazing job being handed $3 million, just about $3 million, and needing to spend it, in less than 4 months is a big task, one that we're very grateful to the federal government and the state government for. And I think, we did our best to spend it in the places that we knew that we needed it without supplanting our budget, which is a tall order. So I'd like to thank everyone involved in those pieces.
Anybody else like to weigh in? Please, Kate.
I'd just like to say that I think the utilization of the funds, first and foremost, for increased staffing at a time where we knew staffing was going to be difficult. I think that foresight has kept our schools open. So I'm grateful for that insight, as well as all of the HR work that you have put in over the past few months, both you and Scott Poulin. So I just think it was smart, especially the nursing component, because everything seems to be so much more, and I don't want to say complicated, but so much more time is going into the nursing aspect of our schools, and I just think it was smart, and it's worked out well.
Nice, thank you. Anybody else?
I guess just from a student's perspective, it's so great to be in school, at least for half the time that we would be in a time like this, and it's just great. This presentation speaks to the ingenuity and just resourcefulness in which these funds were used, and I think just the window repair at the high school, that's just such a genius way to use this amazing opportunity that came our way as a result of obviously this tragic time, that it's just very impressive. All the brains that worked on this, so thank you.
Did you say all the brains that work on this?
Yeah.
Excellent. Madison, I'll put you on the spot, though, too, since you get to sit in the buildings all day. Any thoughts from your perspective?
Oh, yeah, I just have to agree with Elias on that. I mean, from a student's perspective, you'd never think that this much effort and this much money has to go into something like this. I don't know, if you would ask me last year, how much do you think it would cost to live stream all of your classes? I would have been maybe $100,000. I don't know. So it's quite surprising from a student perspective to see how much work goes into this, and everyone that I know is incredibly grateful for all of this, so including me.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Jeff. Let us move towards committee reports, and I get to go first. This is for the Finance Committee, and written, of course, in microscopic print in front of me, is a draft of the budget schedule. I would like to express appreciation to Mr. Poulin again for his efforts to put this together. This is not finalized yet and will be released once the Budget Committee has had a chance to look at this. I'm sorry, the Finance Committee has been able to look at this, but we'll follow that similar cadence to previous years of working with the with administration, or administration will work together to help the superintendent prepare his budget. And then there will be places where the committee can certainly continue to weigh in, ask questions, and and try to help move the process forward. There will be a schedule shortly talking about what we're driving towards, which would be that first public hearing in the month of April. That is where we are. There will be a budget committee, finance committee very, very soon to weigh in on this. Policy. Anne is not able to join us this evening, and she's done some work on a few different policies that we will talk about in mere moments around supervision and evaluation of professional staff. So we will talk about those shortly. Anybody else from Policy Committee, would you like to weigh in?
Well, no, this is the first reading for the revisions to the public participation at board meetings. We had been using a bit of an antiquated public participation policy, so Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but this policy brings us up to, well, we were always in compliance with statute, but it brings us up to a modern, more applicable, more appropriate public participation at board meetings that many other school districts are following from the advisement of Drummond and Woodson.
Would you like
This
to?
template comes directly from our legal counsel, and they suggested that we use this template, which is being used in most districts in Maine now.
Beautiful. If you, as you review this for BEDH, any questions that you have, you can see the entire document is red, which is spectacular. But the language is straightforward. As Kate mentioned, it is adopted in a number of districts across the state. So you can ask questions of, please, Peter.
Are we going to, it's an agenda item, item for action. Are we going to further discuss it at that point?
Well, on this, for the Policy Committee segment, was just talking about that first reading of BEDH. Those other two things will fall under items for action.
So we will not be discussing the public comment one tonight?
We will be talking under items for action two things. We'll be talking about the second reading for policy GCOA, the supervision and evaluation of professional staff, as well as the second reading of GCOC. So both of those we will look to move forward with comment.
Okay, the only thing is, if we don't, if there's no other chance to talk about this, you know, in looking to that policy, it doesn't appear to address public comment on action items, and my understanding is that that's been a long-standing thing that we allow.
Of course. So two separate things then, Peter. The first reading of BEDH, there is no action being taken with that today.
I understand that, yeah.
So it is that piece that if you do have questions, comments, or it doesn't meet the expectations that you may have, I think that we can redirect that back to the Policy Committee.
I can, but I mean, it seems like the train's leaving the station without a chance to really address that or such. So I mean, I'd kind of like to, before the thing gets too far down the track, where do we deal with this?
With the Policy Committee. Do you want to?
Right, the Policy Committee is also reviewing several policies. One of them is around comments on agenda items, action items, which are in other policies as well.
No, so, right now, that is an existing policy, is that correct?
That's correct.
So anything that we would do on that is fine-tuning, and the particular thing that has the first reading just is related to public comment itself.
That's correct.
Right,
okay.
it's usually the first reading is an introduction of the policy, and then the discussion usually comes in advance of the second reading before the vote. Obviously, there's open for discussion.
All right, well, I don't have any problem with the public comment portion of it, but I just wanted to make sure that nothing for the moment had changed as far as public comment on items for action.
No, that's correct.
No.
This is, so as Jeff said, in terms of it being advisory, this is our first look at where the Policy Committee redlined and landed. This is where advice of counsel came back.
Okay, I'm good then. I just wanted to make sure that that both of those, the other one was addressed, and I'm fine.
I'm glad that you brought it
Yeah,
up.
there's several policies in policy committee right now, and the next meeting of the policy committee is next Monday evening. And it's where those policies will continue being discussed and brought forward. That's what you're saying, Peter.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I bet I could get you a seat at the policy committee if you'd like to come listen.
That would probably, I'm a
Just check.
doer, not a thinker.
Margot, did you have?
No, I was just going to say the same thing that Jeff said, that we are meeting next Monday. So if you do see something that you want us to talk about,
Okay. Thank you.
we're happy to.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that first read? Okay. That leads us to facilities. Peter.
Right now, anything that we'll be doing now will be dependent on what action we take after our executive session, but I do expect that that work is R&D is already being done with regard to the next phase of our building project. So that has begun. A more formal thing with the Facilities Committee will begin pending the action of the board later.
Thank you, Peter. So on to curriculum. Mike.
Let's see, I missed the last board meetings because somebody may have addressed our last meeting at that point, but.
Go ahead.
We did.
You did address it?
We did address it because we had it previous to the last board meeting.
Yeah, okay, so I won't go
We
over
haven't
that
met
again
since then.
Okay. Thank you. And that brings us to student reports. Madison, let's go in alphabetical order.
What's going on?
For student, thank you for being here. For student reports, anything to report from your perspective?
I know that I and a couple other people in my grade have reached out to Mr. Hoffman concerning curriculum and COVID safety, and we're getting kind of a ball rolling on getting forms out for students to fill out on how they feel about COVID safety and the curriculum moving into mostly junior and senior year. I haven't heard anything too spectacular or different lately, so Elias,
Yeah, I would say everyone's going strong. Coming back from Thanksgiving break, I know that was very restful for a lot of people, and teachers did a great job of prioritizing family time, or not really extended family time, obviously, given the unique Thanksgiving, but just savoring the time off from school. I think as it pertains to the high school, it's been sort of, especially being a cohort B member, that has the cases and just the increasing, it's like 53 students who are currently quarantining. I think that's been a sort of it's been a tumultuous kind of point of anxiety or not anxiety maybe, but just like it's obviously no one wants to have to quarantine for 10 days. So that's been just something that I think has been on everyone's mind, but obviously it's just the nature of the times. And I think everybody's facing the storm with like a very, with a lot of fortitude and a good attitude. So I think overall morale is high. It's just a little unsure in this point of all these positive cases coming in.
Thank you. Certainly unprecedented, so you both doing very well. For ad hoc committee reports, actually, does anybody have any questions of Elias or Madison before I? No? Ad hoc reports. Michael, what's going on in your world?
So we don't really have much to update in terms of the Outdoor Learning Committee. We will be putting out a call for some more folks to get involved, probably in the next week or two. I'm going to coordinate with you, Jeff, about getting a request out to the community to get people engaged, and so we can dig into how we get kids outside learning going forward into the winter and then spring. So, but that's it for now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess I'll just use this time again. I really appreciate Jeff, Scott, and everybody dedicating the time and effort to getting outdoor learning spaces, not just purchased, but already built, being implemented. It's extraordinary. I think it's going to set the stage for making our campus even more inviting and engaging for all the kids out here and everybody in our community as well. So thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Communications. Margot, what have you got?
The Communication Committee has met a few times this year, and our big project is we are in the midst of doing some research on district websites, working with Donna Green and Fran Prentice, and trying to see what's out there, see what works and what doesn't work, and trying to, I think it's clear everyone has a website, but they're not all websites that you would want to recreate. So we're trying to do some research, and this is a situation that Jeff can speak to more than I can, but the system that our website is run by is going away. So it's something that we have to do. So we're trying to make the best of a kind of a forced situation and take our district to the next level.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff, did you want to weigh in?
The Google Classic Sites is expiring, and so that's been a free site for us, so we've been able to use that for a number of years. And so as that's going away and they'll be introducing something in its place, we'll have to pay for that, whatever that piece is. And so it's really more of an opportunity now to say, do we even want a Google website, or do we want to try something completely different if we're going to have to start paying for our website? And so that's what the Communications Committee is doing, is exploring that. And I appreciate Margot and the committee's work on this, because actually Madison is part of our group. Jennifer's part of our group. I'm trying to remember who's on. Kate, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people on there. Donna Green has been joining us, Fran Prentice. Who else?
Mike's on
Mike Williams. Everybody's on every committee I've got here. But I think it will hopefully, produce. I don't think our website is a bad website, but I also think we can find a website that is probably more a fit for our district. And certainly this is a good opportunity to do this. We have to do it anyway.
That's good. Thank you. Anything else from communications in this sizable committee? No? So that leads us to our items for action. Kate, you did this to me a number of times, and I'm going to do it right back to you. We're in the midst of, or finishing our second reading on policy GCOA, the supervision and evaluation of professional staff. Can I put this in your hands?
Sure. So I move that we approve policy GCOA, supervision and evaluation of professional staff, as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion from the board? Seeing none, would the community like to comment on policy GCOA? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? And any abstentions? Great. Kate, we have the second reading of policy GCOC, evaluation of administrative staff.
I move that we approve policy GCOC, evaluation of administrative staff, as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion from the board? Seeing none, any discussion from the community on policy GCOC? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, Kate. So that brings us to item C of our items for action, to enter executive session. In this motion, if the individual please read the entire vote, recommended vote language.
I move that we vote to enter executive session to discuss an option agreement to acquire real estate property in connection with the possible construction of a new elementary school pursuant to State Statute 1 MRSA 4056C.
Second.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Peter. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, any discussion by the community? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions? So we will enter executive session once our friends up in the booth tell us that we're clear. Thank you for attending tonight, folks.
What? No, I just said hang in there.
Good luck with hockey, Elias. Have fun.
Do you want me to put it up on the screen?
Oh, please, whatever works for you.
Whatever, okay.
Do we know Scott got pulled up
By whom?
by the SRO?
We should have executive session.
No, I don't have no, I didn't even see him leave. So it's gonna be part of this, so.
Would it be easier to gather, or what would you like to do?
Do you want the information on the screen? Or do you wanna just look at it on your own?
Either one is fine. I think we all have it in front of us.
Is it, yeah, why don't we do that so that everybody has a chance to see the same information at the same time?
We'll just wait and make sure we're good to do that.
Margot, the communications meetings, is it a standing meeting? Is the communication meeting standing? Out here.
Yeah, probably be easier.
I mean, I know Andrea, but that was about it.
Yeah, I know Andrea and Eliza.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go over here, right?
Yeah.
Nothing like our exciting Monday nights.
Oh, right. Scott? Do you mind going and tell Andy that the audio is running? He's not up there. No, he went to the box office, I think. No, he went to the one out in the lobby. Yep. Audio's running.